Die Bahn ist frei. Die startet der erste Spurschlitten von Sven Reckli, die Startbox Sandro Felder. Anfahrt zum Horschen. Ich gehe nicht zu nahe an die Bahn an. Horschen vorbei. Preisbox. Felder gestartet mit 5,77. Zeiten für Reckli auch 5,77 gestartet, 1,10,08 die Laufzeit. Sensor. Anfahrt zum Horschen. Horschen vorbei. Andere Felder. Unterteiler Bahn. Das ist der Spielzug zu einer Geschwindigkeit von 138. Einsatz hier bei Olympia Bobrun South Moritz-Celerina. Ohne euch würde es nicht gehen. Vielen herzlichen Dank euch für euren Einsatz.
Welcome back for the final time to St. Moritz in Switzerland. This time out, we return in 2 weekends from now for more bobsleigh action, in between a trip to the revised Innsbruck track at Eagles in Austria. But before then, the denouement of what promises to be a particularly thrilling four-man World Cup encounter, because in our first heat we have, well, a couple of dead heats. In fact, we've got 3 dead heats in the first heat. One is for 11th place. That needs trouble us not at the moment. Mickey Vogt, returning in his second World Cup race after his crash in Altenburg last year, is tied for 3rd place after the first run. A great run from the Swiss driver to put him in with a shout at the medals. Who's he tied with? He is tied with Francesco Friedrich of Germany. World and Olympic four-man champion. And he lies in a dead heat for third place. Now, Friedrich tied for gold yesterday with Johannes Lochner. Lochner, after the first run, is just 1/100th of a second ahead of Francesco Friedrich and Mickey Vogt. Why then are they not tied for second place? Because Hansi is not alone in the lead of the race. He tied the time set by Great Britain's Brad Hall. Or rather, Brad tied the time set by Lochner. So we have a dead heat for third place, and we have a dead heat for the lead. And the margin covering all four sleds, 1/100th of a second. Behind them, a great drive from Tino Rona to go fifth ahead of Marcus Treichel and Adam Amor, and lots of very close battles all the way down the field, not just in the top 20, but outside it as well. Martin Krantz of Liechtenstein squeezing into the top 20 by just a few hundreds ahead of Trinidad and Tobago as they have their first ever four-man World Cup start. Well, the air temperature was, whatever it was, -11, -12 at the start of the morning for the women's race. Now, a balmy -6 on a beautiful sunny day. Ice temperature is about the same. And that means with warmer air above the ice, it won't be frosty. It will be very hard and fast. And that means that our final 20 sleds will have plenty to keep them entertained. This is the fastest track on the planet. They are going over 90 miles an hour at the bottom on sheet ice, on metal runners, and they don't break in the track. So here's our start draw. Martin Krantz of Liechtenstein makes it through. He will be first off, and then the dead heats, Nuss, Vogt, Friedrich, Hall and Lochner. And Hansi will be the last to go. So who wins this? Don't go anywhere for the next hour. Please stay with this one. Martin Krantz with Mauro Buhler, Lawrence Lenher and David Schoffen. This is the team representing Liechtenstein. Third World Cup start in a four-man race for Martin Krantz. And they are in and down. Didn't make the cut in a two-man yesterday, but 5:35 getaway. They started 5:37 in the first heat. They did come here for last year's four-man race, but didn't all make it down safely. And as a result, they were disqualified. But here, no such dramas in the first heat. Now, as the first sled down, they of course are, or will be, our leaders at the bottom, so nobody to compare them with. And each subsequent sled will have a smaller or larger advantage over the sled that has immediately preceded it, because you send the fastest last. 1087, good speed in the forest. 187 kilometers an hour is 67 miles an hour, now up to 75.7 miles an hour. And down at the bottom, we should be up to 90. 145.7, 90.5 miles an hour. Across the line, 105.88, 106.07 in the first heat. So a 0.3 of an improvement, just about. And that is for a driver who is not absolutely as consistent yet as the front runners will be. So good job, faster start, faster drive, job done. And Martin Krantz and the crew from Liechtenstein making it through into the second heat in their third World Cup outing. This will be their first result posted in St. Moritz. Will be no worse than 20th. World Cup best of 15th to date. Sun Kai-chi of China next up. Early start draw for both the Chinese sleds. Not an advantage at all on this track. In fact, a positive disadvantage. Not as much as if it was first thing in the morning, mind you. 13th World Cup start for himself. Anti the brakeman Only his second World Cup in a four-man. Didn't really get on the brakes at all. They ran all the way up onto the rubber matting at the end of the run. 5:17 getaway, not quite as quick as their first. Might have shortened the run by a step or two to get in safely before kink 1. Nice run from kink 2 down to wall corner, nice and quiet. Now, they did have a handy advantage over the team from Liechtenstein of a 1/10 of a second, and they started 1800s quicker, so 3800s faster, and that's now out to half a second. Coming down to Horseshoe, the signature corner here, big height, gets it off nicely, drove it down well into Telephone, out of Shamrock, smoothly onto Devil's Dyke, and then the next left at Nameless into Tree. Hard transition for these fast four-man sleds. At 80 miles an hour, there's barely 2 or 3 sled lengths between the corners. Really hard work. Holding his lead, 3500s up, not as quick in terms of top speed, but will have the lead at the line by 1400s. 105.82, not as he was, in fact, he was a whisker quicker than the Liechtenstein sled. So 600s quicker than Martin Krantz, and his 800s from the first heat out to 1400s. I'm sure Sun would have hoped for a little bit more than that. 13th place last year. Look how close he is up to the woodwork there, almost taking the frost off the wood, and then drives it down into Telephone.
Ready in the box. And the third,
So using the height to dive down and build that acceleration. Sun Kai-chi of China, the leader, with 18 to go. Next up, Great Britain's Adam Baird. And again, happy birthday to teammate Ollie Butterworth. Austin Millward at 2. Alexander Cartagena at 3. And Luca Williams at 4. Austin Millward was on a 2-man sled. Adam Baird finishing 18th with Austin yesterday. Austin drops in at 2, last man down. Neatly done, 5:22 is the getaway. So tied to the 100th with Sun Kai-chi and his crew. They had a slender advantage of just 500s. Ooh, little meandering there. 700s back, that's because Sun had a faster start, greater initial velocity. That was the case in the first heat as well, but Adam Baird driving himself into the lead. Now don't forget that Baird, he had slightly better ice. Gets sideways and double taps out of Sonny, neat out of Nash and Dixon. 700s in it, losing nothing. Now 1200s back. Speed not quite as good as Martin Krantz of Liechtenstein, but right around the same as the Chinese sled. 300s in it. Nice run down here to the finish. The last 400-500 meters could see him into the lead. Big skid there. He was in the green. Is he going to be in front or behind? Could be very close, this one at the line. It's 1200s up. He had enough speed to survive that big skid off the Gunter Sachs curve. And smiles from the coaches. Sean Olsen and Graham Richardson happy with that one. And Adam Baird holds his position. Previous best in the World Cup, 14th place finish. He was 17th in Winterberg last weekend. Came hard down off Dixon, hit the wall on the inside and on the outside. And then further down, this is going away, Nash into Dixon. And then further down in the forest, a couple of late exits. And all of that motion, just taking speed out of the sled, as was that skid, but enough to stay in the lead. Fourth up now, Frank Del Duca with Carsten Vissering, Manuel Mitchell and Dylan Gilbert. Now, somewhere between Carsten Vissering and Manuel Mitchell, they didn't load very well in the first heat. They'll hope to improve on that. And Frank was saying afterwards something about almost losing his helmet. Not sure where that was. Hopefully all good in the second heat. They get in a little better this time. Still motion behind the driver, which isn't great. 5:17, but second best velocity. 1200s up on Adam Baird of Great Britain. They had 200s from the first heat. Outstarted the Brits by 5. 1200s up. Comes more tidily out of Nash and Dixon up to Horseshoe than he did in the first heat. 1800s up. Second best speed. So right in there with the British sled. Ooh, a little late. Look out here. Gathers it up again. Takes a tap. Should have the lead, was 1800s up. That lead had stabilised, and across the line, 900s only, 105.68. Well, they were faster than the Brits and added 700s of a second advantage to the 200s from the first heat.
Back in 2 weeks for redemption. We'll miss you, sir. This is a beautiful spot.
Yes, it is, and especially on a day like today, skidding down there from Nash into Dixon and then further down in the forest again. Little late exit, a flop and a skid and a tap down into the Gunter Sachs curve. Oh, and that was quite late. That's actually Treater Bridge weighing the sled and the athletes. And next up for Canada is Taylor Austin with Johan Esrik Parkinson, Mark Zanette and Chris Ashley. Ashley the most experienced. The other two made their debut last week in Winterberg. Taylor Austin's 11th World Cup start. Best result here, 13th place, and he was 16th after the first heat. But again, chance to tidy things up. 5:29 is the getaway. Still in the red, but closing down Frank Del Duca at Sunny. Closer still, perhaps at Horseshoe. Not great height, but a nice clean exit. And the best speed of all, 109.2 kilometers an hour, 67.8 miles an hour. 122.9, 76 plus miles an hour. Little skiddy down. Bridge, leap to bridge. Bridge to leap, 147.7, best speed of all, 91.8 miles an hour at the line, 105.32, 500ths of a second exactly faster than their first heat. And to put that into context, if I can separate the bits of paper, 105.32 is the 9th fastest run today. And they were 16th in the first heat. So, another run, chance to tidy up some of the issues from the first heat, gain more speed. Track not slowing down either, and that all helps. Good effort from Taylor Austin. First 5 sleds down. Taylor Austin leads for Canada. Bit of motivation there from Max Robert at the front of the sled. Yellow and black, it's not Germany though, this is Monaco. Monaco with a 4-man sled for the first time in a quad. Boris Vain with Cyril Ferry joining him. Arthur Prevost has been a 2-man brakeman this season, and Steven Borges on the back, like Boris Vain, was behind Rudy Rinaldi in the last 4-man race for Monaco back in 2021. 4 long years, and Monaco are back in 4-man. 5:23 getaway, a little squirrely off kink 1. Stay away from the wall. Oh, close. Good stuff from big Boris Vain. And fantastic to see Monaco back with a 4-man sled. Finished 11th in the 2-man, so he can negotiate this track well. And now Expecting to see more four-man outings from the Monaco team. 200s up from 1500s. Third best speed. Taylor Austin was quickest in the forest. This is about making a debut. It's not necessarily about finding that result, although that's obviously what they're looking for. But it's making the start. It's getting Monaco back into four-man. Doesn't roll over the line. 105.86. They are done and down. They have completed the first four-man race for Monaco in 4 long years. Boris Van shakes his head, but they are at the starting block of the four-man adventure in the World Cup. Missed the handle completely. It's a whole different dynamic, four-man. And while they've been driving, Monaco have been driving and racing four-man in Europe Cup to get the standard up, they've been predominantly racing in two-man. And so coming back occasionally to four-man, not easy. Officers, congratulations to Taylor Austin and the crew from Canada who lead as we get to Mihai Tentea of Romania. With the regular crew, Constantin Dănescu, Mihai Paceanu and Gheorghe Iordaș. 14th place after the first of the 2 heats here. A relatively early start draw today. 6th out for Mihai Tentea. Finished 19th in their best four-man result here, so they're in previously uncharted territory. 5:18 start. Nice soft hands from the driver, just allowing the sled to breathe its way down to wall. Through Snake 1 and Snake 2, not quite as much height in Snake 2 as in the first run, so that's good. Out of Sunny, little tap down into Nash. Now come out of Dixon Square and down to Horseshoe. As it rears up ahead of you, climb and dive out. Happens so fast, and yet you're just mesmerised by it as you're coming down towards it. Third best speed, the gap is shrinking from 3/10 down to 1/10. Second fastest, Taylor Austin, quickest all the way down here. Tentea could drop into the red. Second best speed, it's close. Is it close enough to the Canadians? No. 105.46. Well, they drop a spot, they will be no worse than 15th, but that is a personal best for Mihai Tentea here in four-man in World Cup races. He's raced 3 Junior Worlds, 2 World Cups and the 2024 World Championships. And 19th in January 2021. Now he'll be no worse than 15th.
In the box, team from China. Li Chunyan, Yang Mao Yuan, Shi Xiaolong, Chen Heng.
7 sleds down in our final run in St. Moritz this weekend. World Cup number 3 for the four-man bobsleigh. Next up, Li Chunyan with Zhang Yaoyan, Shi Yaolong and Cheng Heng. Shi, the 18-year-old, was on the two-man yesterday. Chen Heng on the back of the 4. This is a young crew with Li. 5:18 start. Brake handle not in. Well, they started the same as Mihai Tentea, so they still have 1800ths of a second in hand. But with a good run, they could improve on that. 4/10 up over Taylor Austin, the current leader. Taylor Austin has already clawed his way past Monaco's Boris Van and Romania's Mihai Tentea. Out of Horseshoe, nice exit, 4500s up now, starting to build that advantage, and the speed is coming with it. 109.5, fastest at 68 miles an hour. 123, 76.5 miles an hour. And we'll be getting close to 92 miles an hour at the bottom, 91.76, not quite there yet. Across the line, 105.15. Well, applause from the Canadians as they see the Chinese come in ahead, and Li Chunjian will be no worse than 13th place. He was first out this morning, or this afternoon, definitely not a help, more of a hindrance. 10th place in the last four-man World Cup here last year. Was 16th in the two-man yesterday, 14th in Winterberg. And he leads with 12, I beg your pardon, yes, does lead with 12 to go. So, no worse than 13th. That will be a personal best this season, but not necessarily here in St Moritz. Pat Norton, Mike Eveling, Keaton Brugling and Shaquille Murray Lawrence on the back. Shaq on the back handles there. Most experienced of these brake men. Oh no, he's not. Mike Eveling is. In they drop though, 5:07 getaway. Really strong start. They were the sixth fastest starting crew in the first heat. That is blistering starting speed. Nice smooth lines from Pat Norton in the first heat as well. He's keeping it nice and quiet up top, building that advantage. 2100s over Lee after the start is out to 4300s. He's more than doubled that, but then skidding down to Horseshoe. Happened in the first heat as well. Low line in Horseshoe. Out of Shamrock to Devil's Dyke. Neat and tidy, but only the 8th best speed. So didn't have the height, didn't get that slingshot down from the altitude that he wanted. 6th best speed, the gap continues to shrink from 43 to 21. This could be single digits at the line. Very skiddy from Gunter Sachs down to Martineau and out to Portago. 1500s back. Not the run that the Canadians needed. Well, they slip back a spot. They were in a dead heat with Cedric Follador of Switzerland. And they slip behind Li Chunjian. And this is part of it, the big skid down into Horseshoe. Medium height in Horseshoe, holds it up late and then drives it down, really drives it down hard actually. And that's the problem with not having the height, is you have to steer a lot. Well, Cedric Follador has Nicola Mariani, Luca Rolli and Kanta Giard behind him. Hope that was better. .6100s off the lead. And their first heat advantage over Li Chunjian, the current leader, like Pat Norton, was a 10th of a second. Well, they came out a little later in the heat than Pat Norton, than Li Chunjian in the first run. Not sure the ice was enormously different. 5:15 is the getaway. So they outstart their Chinese rivals by 300s. 1300s up. Let's see if they can add to that. Next group of sleds, only a handful of hundredths of a second in front. A good run here from Cedric Follador. Could not just keep him where he is, could actually vault him 2, 3, maybe 4 places up the order. But he's losing ground now to the Chinese athlete, only 2300s up. Remaining static, but there's the speed, 110 kilometers an hour. Faster than Lee, again, 76.5 miles an hour. Needs good speed at the bottom, needs a good exit here, nice and straight down to Martineau. 3rd best speed, 91.5, that'll do it. He will have the lead at the line. He leads with 10 to go and a 105.01, 4100s better than his first heat. And that is enough for Cedric Follador to lead with 10 to go. The next sled, 400s ahead. The one after that, 500s ahead. The one after that, only 13 hundredths ahead. So the gaps in the top 20 are tiny, and never more so than at the top of the pile. Nice exit out of Horseshoe, smoothly onto Telephone. It's like he's done it before. Little tap going on to Devil's Dyke. But Cedric Follador and crew have the lead from that man, Lee Chun-Jan, with Pat Norton and Taylor Austin, third and fourth for Canada. 10 down, 10 to go. Now, my lovely colleagues in Swiss Timing reminding us that in Koenigsee in 2017, the World Championships for four-man was a dead heat for gold between Johannes Lochner, the local boy, and Francesco Friedrich. There's the Cedric Follador fan club. It's a cracking tash and mullet combo right in front, isn't it? So we have had a World Championship tie for four-man gold, but in St. Moritz, I've got records going back 20 years to 2004-05, and 20 seasons ago. Since then, there has not been a four-man tie. There have been two two-man ties for gold, but not a four-man tie. In fact, I think there was a two-man tie for bronze as well. Put the sheets away, so I haven't got them in front of me. Well, there's the British crew. Getting some selfies with family and fans. And up at the top, outside Dracula's, there's a little logo on the hat of the St. Moritz Bob Club. One of the most famous sporting venues on the planet, the Olympia Bobrun, St. Moritz. And if you want to know how they hand make this track, you can go to their website and take a look at some of the sparkling videos they make. Just shuffling them in. Cameramen are always cameramen, aren't they? They just want it just the way they want it. And look at that. Above the tree line, these gorgeous flowing slopes. No wonder it's a real mecca for winter sports. Such a beautiful location as well. On a day like today, absolutely perfect. What more could you want? Well, pizza for tea, obviously, but apart from that, we are ready now for what might well be the most exciting four-man race in a decade. 10 down, 10 to go. Race 3 of the IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup in St. Moritz. Final 10 sleds, and what a race this will be. Patrick Baumgartner of Italy in 10th place with Eric Fantazzini. Alex Verginer, who drove his own sled in the two-man yesterday, and Lorenzo Bilotti. They get in, get down. 5:12 start and a cleaner exit off King 1 than they had in the first heat. They were really all over the place in Heat 1. Baumgartner should be able to use that to build up his advantage over Cedric Follador of Switzerland, our current leader. Baumgartner was only 400ths faster in the first heat. So he needs to drive this into the leader's box at the bottom with 9 sleds to come. Out of Nash and Dixon, up to Horseshoe. Climbing and diving out into Telephone, where the field telephone was to call the ambulance when you'd crashed. Shamrock and Devil's Dyke. Then out of Nameless, the last of the rights, into the four, and off the left, into the four right-handers. Tree, Bridge, Leap and Gunter Sachs that leads you down to Martineau, across the Cresta Run and into Portago, and across the line, behind by 200ths, 105.07. Follador in front and the rest of the team behind. The Swiss move up one. It will be a top 10 for Switzerland, and maybe not for Baumgartner. 9th and 11th this season for Patrick Baumgartner, and looks like he might be 11th here as he was in Winterberg, just 200ths behind. Still not the tidiest load. Verginer had trouble getting in there at 3. Good height, held it late, but watch the runners. Big steer. In British bobsledding terms, Robin Hooding it off. Like you pull back on a bow, the hands wide apart as he ripped it off the corner. That's where the speed went away. So Cedric Follador leads in the top 10 with 9 to go is Jacobs Calendar, Ilaris Kaufmanis, the veteran Mats Miknes and Maris Klaver. And Miknes in his 59th four-man World Cup start. In Innsbruck it'll be number 60 if he's fit. 5:11 getaway, another strong start. And keeping it quiet through kink 1 and kink 2. All but flat here, unless you're walking uphill, in which case at 1,800 metres above sea level it isn't. 1,400's up. But you don't really start to accelerate here until you come out of Nash and Dixon and down towards Horseshoe. Then the speed starts to build. And then up and down, whipping out of Horseshoe into Telephone. Now you're really accelerating. Now you're motoring on. 110 Ks, 68.6 miles an hour. 123, 76.8 miles an hour. See how fast the acceleration is. In just 100 meters or so, you gain 10 miles an hour. 148.2, 92.1 miles an hour. Across the line, 104.77. The track records start falling again. Well, it wasn't a brilliant looking drive from Jacobs Calendar, but it was a strong one, wasn't it? He takes the lead with 8 to go with a new track record. 105.37 in the first heat, 104.77 in the second. Good height, and watch the runners. Rolls the sled off the corner rather than ripping it down the hill. And that is far kinder to your speed. And down at the bottom, between Martina and Portago, double tap, but a track record. Next up, Korea's Kim Jin-soo. Hugely experienced brakeman, now in his 3rd World Cup start as a driver in the four-man. First time driving here in the four-man in St. Moritz. He's done 5 World Cups with his head buried between his knees as a brakeman in four-man alone. Nice smooth run from a 5:17 start. This young Korean crew, they all made their debut last week in Winterberg. They are fast. Into Sunny, 300s behind. Their slender early advantage going away. Little rocking and rolling in Nash and Dixon, squirming down the hill into Horseshoe. 1,400s back. Speed sagged. Nothing left in the sled to fight with. 12th best velocity, but 0.4 of a second back. Look at the bottom right, that's where he is on the splits. Down to 5th place, ahead of the Canadians at the moment. 7th best speed, but he's in danger of slipping behind Pat Norton. No, just comes across the line, 105.55. 200s ahead of Canada. Well, Kim Jin-soo, first four-man race in St. Moritz. 5th with 7 remaining. That is a top 12 finish. And Kim was in 12th place in the two-man yesterday. Lots more to learn about driving on this track, and they will be back in a fortnight to do more learning. In fact, they'll be back in about 10 days. We race Friday, Saturday and Sunday in Innsbruck next weekend, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday here in 2 weeks' time. First of our German sleds, and not in the top 3. Adam Amor, older brother Issam, Benedikt Hertel, the two-man brakeman who took him to bronze yesterday, and Rupert Schenk on the back. 2,300s off the lead. Normally, that would be top 3 or 4. Here, that's 7th. Good strong start at 5:06. Nice and quiet out of kink 1 and out of kink 2. Adam Amour still very much learning this track. Crashed out in the two-man worlds, finished 9th last year. Still in the green, 4 tenths up. Still not the highest line in Horseshoe, 4,700, second best speed. Should be more than enough to stay in front of Jacob's calendar. 1:24.0, 77 miles an hour. He's been rocking on down at the bottom. Should be over 92, and it is. 1:48.6, 92.4 miles an hour. Big skid into Portago, but a track record nonetheless. 1:04.57, 2 tenths quicker than the Latvians. Now in this field, from 2 tenths back, that's a tough ask to get a medal, but he gave it everything apart from height in Horseshoe. In they get. Issam drops back behind him, then Benny Hertel at 3, and Rupert Schenk on the back. Beautifully lined up, and those sky blue helmets really would show any anomalies in the way the brakemen sit as they come out of Horseshoe and down into Telephone. Big skid here between Martineau and Portago. A track record and the lead with 6 to go. Now then, Markus Treichel with Sascha Stepan, Sebastian Mitra and Christian Huber. And at one stage, he was in the medals in the first heat. That's before it all got really crazy. 3rd fastest starting team. I mean, what a crew this is. What a chance it gives Treichel. Aiming for another medal. Silver in the opener of the season in Altenburg. 7th last week. A 5:09 getaway. Nice and quiet through the first couple of corners. Treichel's best result here, an 8th place finish last year. 7th in the World Championships 2 seasons ago. 500s behind. And Adam Amour drove superbly. Now, needs big height here, Marcus. Doesn't go that high. Comes down neatly. What's the speed like? He had phenomenal speed in the first heat. Just a click off the speed of Adam Amour. 1300s back. Amour was quicker. Out of the Gunter Sachs curve, takes a tap and a skid. Only the 3rd best speed. He's not going to catch Adam Amour. He will be 2nd at the line. 1:04.82. Amour and the crew lead. No top 6 guaranteed for Markus Treichel of Austria, but it is for Adam Amour of Germany. So Treichel in 2nd, 2200s back. And in the end, his tiny 300s advantage over Adam Amour overturned a quarter of a second slower down than the German sled. And too many tiny little errors like this creeping in and just dragging the speed out. Adam Amour leads Markus Treichel and Jacob's calendar. 5 to go. And this is soon going to get very, very crazy. Timo Rohner of Switzerland. 1800s off the lead. On most normal tracks, that would be top 3 or top 4 as well. He's 5th. And he's 1700s away from 3rd. But what a drive he had in the first heat. 13th fastest start from Timo, Greg Jones, Tim Annan and Mathieu Herbsberger. 5:18 start. A couple of hundreds slower than their first heat. But Rohner drove so well. 700s behind Amour because of that slower start, and that grows. Amour with greater velocity early on. Rohner was 500s quicker than Adam Amour. over the 1,700 meters of ice, and he needs to do the same again. Basically, he really needs a track record for a top 5 finish. 1500's back, 4th best speed. At the moment, in danger of dropping behind Marcus Treichel and into 3rd place. Never mind staying in front of Adam Amour. This would still be comfortably a best World Cup run on this track. 2nd best, best speed at the bottom. He's not going to be close enough, is he? Does he get Amour? No, he doesn't. 104.75. But 2nd place for Timo Röhne of Switzerland. With 4 to go. That will be no worse than 6th. 8th and 9th in the 2 4-man races this season. No 4-man races in the World Cup on this track. And in the World Champs 2 years ago, the last time he raced 4-man here, he was 12th. So he has halved that. A great day of driving for Timo Röhne, and he'll be back in 2 weeks to do it again. Don't feel deflated. Now then, the final 4 sleds covered by 100th of a second. Not 100th between each of them, 100th covering all 4. This is a 4-sled, dead heat, 1-run race for gold. Mickey Vogt is the first to throw his hand in the ring. 5:14 getaway. Dominik Schlepfer, Dominik Hüschmidt and Andy Haas just 100 slower than their first heat. Smoothly through the first couple of corners. And this for a medal. This potentially for the win for Switzerland. And Mickey Vogt coming back. It's only his 2nd World Cup start since his accident. Smooth and just about in front at Horseshoe. 800s holding that deficit or holding that advantage. 4th place here in the Worlds. 4th place here last year. 124.1, he's ahead in terms of speed. He should build the advantage. It should be a new track record for Mickey Vogt. The first of our final 4 to go. Where's he going to leave him? Track record, no, 104.62, but he does lead. Vogt will at least tie his best result on this track with 4th place. Last Swiss winner, Ivo Rüegg in the 4-man Worlds in 2007. I can't believe it's 17, 18 years. Wow. Well, that little dink out of kink 1, is that going to cost him a medal? It is going to be down to the tiniest of errors, or tidying up the tiniest of errors. Mickey Vogt leads, 3 to go. Mickey Vogt tied the time set by Francesco Friedrich, the joint gold medalist in yesterday's 2-man race. With Matthias Sommer, Alex Schuller and Felix Strahl behind him. Such a successful driver and crew. 497 getaway, tying their heat, their start in the first heat. Tying the start record. 3,500s up. It was not the tidiest run from Friedrich. And again, not tidy in Snake. 4,200s up. Comes nicely out of Sunny, into Nash and Dixon. Skids out of Dixon up to Horseshoe. Good height. Drives it off into Telephone. 4,200s. The gap has not grown and the speed has gone away. Didn't accelerate enough out of Horseshoe. Only 6th best speed. Now it comes. Gap's coming down. 3,900s. He's going to lead from Mickey Vogt. Is this enough for gold? Vogt is not going to win this race. Friedrich still might. 3rd fastest at the bottom. 92.3 miles an hour. 104.31. New track record. So you've got to match or break the track record to win this race. Friedrich again, as in the two-man, when he's behind, finding something even more special. With Matthias Sommer, Alex Schuller and Felix Straub tying their own start record from the first heat, 4:97. Is anyone going to get close to that? But they ran it into kink one. A little double dink and a tap. And down here as well, just brushing the wall, not as big a skid into the Gunter Sachs curve. Okay, first place. The same word, spannend, exciting stuff. Now then, Brad Hall, the winner in Winterberg. Tied for the lead. Taylor Lawrence, Leon Greenwood, Greg Cackett. Brad Hall, World Championship silver medalist here in 2023. Best World Cup race result is a 6th place finish in St. Moritz. Leon Greenwood made his debut here in St. Moritz last year, joining Big T, Taylor Lawrence and Greg Cackett in the sled. 5:06 getaway. Excellent starting from the Brits. And after winning in the four-man last week in Germany, there is every chance to do it again here. Nice tracking, straight and true, down to wall. 2 tenths behind Francesco Friedrich. That's the phenomenal start that Friedrich's crew gave him. 2600s back. Now Brad was very fast all the way down in the first heat. Needs big speed below Horseshoe as well. 2700, still losing speed. Only the 3rd fastest. Brad Hall is not going to win in St. Moritz. Where is he going to finish up? 7th fastest. 2700s. Not enough to close on Francesco Friedrich. Fastest at the bottom in the first heat, only 5th fastest. He will be in 2nd position with 1 to go. He's in the medals, but Francesco Friedrich leads. We are not going to get a 3-way tie for gold. We are not going to get a 4-way tie for gold. Francesco Friedrich leads with 1 to go. Brad Hall will take at least a bronze medal. Brad's previous best, silver in the four-man worlds 2 seasons ago. Can he match that here? Well, that will be decided by the final sled of Johannes Lochner. And it wasn't quite as tidy as his first heat. Brad's first run was superb. So, Hansi, Johannes Lochner went last in the two-man, a dead heat with Francesco Friedrich. Going last in the four-man, Georg Fleischhauer, Eric Bruckert and Florian Bauer. Fleischhauer on the medal-winning sled yesterday. In and down. Neat and tidy, little less skidding out of kink 1. 5:02 start. Only 400s back from Friedrich, 500 slower at the start. But Friedrich's velocity was superb. Lochner from 1700s back, cannot afford to drop any further time. 2300s back, still looking neat and tidy. Oh, Nash and Dixon not good. Tapping on the way down to Horseshoe, big height, drives it off hard into Telephone. 2400s back, didn't accelerate enough. 2nd place, but the gap is too big. He's not got the speed, he's not going to bring it back. This is going to be gold for Francesco Friedrich. Johannes Lochner battling for silver. 3rd best speed at the bottom. Friedrich's going to win it. Is it silver for Lochner? It is silver for Lochner. Bronze for Hall, but gold for Francesco Friedrich. Friedrich takes his 4th win in St. Moritz. And Johannes Lochner takes the silver medal. Brad Hall in the bronze, as he was in the world as he was in the World Championships 2 years ago. Well, good height, but a little too late. For some reason, Francesco Friedrich was able to build on a slightly faster lead, a slightly faster start than Hall and Lochner, and build his lead early on. And in the end, Hansi didn't quite have enough. 104.55. Enough for silver, but 104.31. Start record, track record, and victory for Francesco Friedrich. And this time he does not share the gold with first heat leader Johannes Lochner. So 4 sleds went into it, separated by 100th, and they come out separated by 31 hundredths. And that's how hard it is to be consistent in this sport. Well, Francesco Friedrich, Matthias Sommer, Alex Schuler and Felix Straub are your winners here. 4 sleds covered by 100th. What a first heat. And Francesco Friedrich, using all of his knowledge, all of his experience on this track to come out on top. His 12th World Cup race. He's raced in 2 World Championships here as well. The gold medalist in the 23 Worlds. And he takes his 4th win on this track. Yesterday, he and Hansi shared a 5th win apiece here. Brad Hall takes the bronze, his best 4-man result in St. Moritz, ahead of Mickey Vogt, Adam Amor and Timo Rona. What a run for young Timo Rona. Cedric Fondador makes it 3 Swiss sleds in the top 10, along with 3 German sleds. And Lee Chun-Jan and Kim Jin-Soo, 2 inexperienced 4-man pilots just outside the 10. Canadians Pat Norton and Taylor Austin having good runs as well. And Boris Val back in the 4-man, or for the first time in 4-man Monaco, are back. And Trinidad and Tobago today made their 4-man World Cup debut as well. The first Caribbean nation in 4-man World Cup action in nearly 3 decades. And we will be back in St. Moritz in 2 weeks' time for more bobsled action. Next week, though, we head to Innsbruck in Austria with Francesco Friedrich extending his lead over Brad Hall and Hansi Lochner at the top of the World Cup rankings. So Saturday and Sunday for bobsleigh action next weekend in Innsbruck, and then we are back here in 2 weeks, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Well, there you go. There is your top 3. At least some of them. Don't know where Brad's gone for a wee somewhere. And that's it. Back under the sign of the Dracula Club in a fortnight. We will join you next Saturday morning in Innsbruck in Austria to take a look at the revised Olympia Bobrun. And then we'll be back here in a fortnight. Until then, from the entire crew, me, Martin Haben, saying thank you for being with us. We'll see you next weekend. Bye for now.